Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, starting off our conversation and discussion regarding the 5th anniversary of the 25th of January revolution. And we're joined here in the studio by Ms. Yosr Dakhs, the political analyst. We're also joined by Dr. Maha Abdel, the political analyst. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Abdel, first of all, we are celebrating 5 years since the 2011 revolution. So far, how do you see the journey? How do you evaluate the journey now, looking back at it 5 years ago?
Wow, it's a tough question. Actually, the journey has been very rich, regardless of all the results so far. Regardless that definitely we haven't achieved anything of the thing that people went out asking for, bread, freedom, social justice, or even the dignity. We haven't reached any of this, but the positive outcome that people are totally engaged, the people are talking about politics, they see politics now as part of their daily life. We are talking here about 25th of January revolution. Political parties have been formed. A lot of people who were totally out of the political scene and they were not engaged at all in any political acts or even in any community work, they are joining forces now to trying to get a better Egypt somehow. So the journey, with all respect of all what happened, but still it's a rich journey, and the process, the changing process, is a very long process. We were having very high hopes. This is why a lot of people are frustrated now. But if we look to the history, if we look back to all the revolutions around the world, nothing has been changed in very little time. Mm-hmm. It takes really long time to have real change.
Yes. Ms. Dakhs, now the revolution started off basically wanting bread, freedom, and social equality, and social justice as well. Do you feel that even if we didn't reach that 100%, do you feel that we are on the right path? Should we have expected the results? Did we expect it soon? Did we expect it a little bit too soon? We were a little bit too enthusiastic. Should we have had a longer plan, a long-term vision for the whole process?
Well, I think as a starter, when people elected President Sisi, they had a long-term vision of everything, of their rights and what they demanded on the 25th revolution. However, given all the circumstances that has been ongoing for the past month, I think we're going backwards. We're not going forward at all. Giving to the people that have been captured, given to the random police inspections, giving all of this, it's been going backwards, giving to the fact that 2 people were captured today, and we don't have the freedom of speech, we don't have the freedom of justice, we don't have all of this. I think it's going backwards and not going forward. So giving, when we elected President Sisi, we did have a long-term vision that things are going to take a longer path than expected. However, no one could have ever assumed or pictured that we were going to go backwards and not forward. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it, in my opinion.
Dr. Abdel, we talked about a lot of the goals that were set during the 25th of January, and you are saying that we didn't really fulfill all these hopes and all these demands, but at least we're now talking and people are discussing politics and people are more aware and people are actually going to vote. At least in terms of economic actions, do you feel that we are at least taking bolder step in regarding at least some of the mega projects, some of the foreign relations files with the international community? Do you feel that we are heading in a right direction there?
Unfortunately, no. I don't think that we are heading in the right direction, especially in the economic area. Well, it depends what you want to do. People went in this revolution asking for social justice. You have, when you are talking about economics, to make sure that which party or which category you are trying to serve. We haven't found anything saying that we are going in the right direction for the social justice. We are doing nothing regarding the poor people or the people under the poverty line. We are not even doing anything regarding the middle class people. On the contrary, we are reducing the taxes for the business people, which of course wasn't one of the revolution's demands. I think the structure as a whole is controlled somehow by the business people and the big titans who are mainly serving their interests. They are not even thinking about the 60% of the Egyptians who are living around the poverty line.
Well, Mr. Dakhs, you've also touched upon the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression and all these things that they've always been issues of debate over the past few years. Now that we have a new parliament and they are supposed to discuss 300 decrees that were issued during the past 2 terms, do you feel that with all the amendments that could take place, do you feel that some of the laws can be ratified and amended to actually guarantee some sort of freedom of speech and equality to all the minorities, to the women, to the children, to all political factions? Do you feel that this could be helpful?
Okay. Let's be clear about one thing. Up until now, ever since the parliament started, or even right before that, there is no strong opposition. There is only proponents. And the thing is that people are starting to get a little bit angry and frustrating because none of the demands have been achieved properly. So the thing is, how should people express their anger when there is absolutely no freedom of speech, no right to demonstrate, no strong opposition to express the people's anger? So I think the parliament or the opposition in general should start taking more action, or should start showing or appearing in a way so it could calm people down. Because when you have absolutely no right or space to express your emotions, to express your anger, it's going to make people more frustrated than they already are, which is going to fire backwards on the government. So the opposition should start focusing on that and take huge steps towards that, because eventually it's for their own sake. If people started to get angry, a lot of hassle is going to occur, a lot of troubles are going to occur. People, like we see on a daily basis, are going to be captured and everything. So the opposition should actually start taking real steps towards that in order to make people a bit calmer and to have the space to discuss the amendments and do all of this. Because if people started to get angry and every day we see that there are trouble or any of that kind, they will not have this clear space to start working and start focusing on the government and the economic problems and the international organization or the international opinion about Egypt. So unless they take proper actions as soon as possible, none of that would be achieved.
Yes. Well, Dr. Abdel Naser, talking about political parties and a lack of a clear appearance of who the opposition would be in the parliament, why do you feel that is the case? Why do you think that there's the opposition is not really clear? It doesn't really show who the opposition, the political parties opposing are in the parliament. Do you feel that political parties are still hesitant to actually make a bold statement regarding where they stand in terms of a lot of the laws and decrees?
Well, it's not exactly like that. It's you have to look at the parties within the political atmosphere. Well, I am a member of a party, the Egyptian Social Democratic Party. We are a party who has been formed after the revolution, and we are always calling our party that's coming out of the revolution. But again, you are not giving us a healthy atmosphere, a healthy political atmosphere to grow, to establish ourselves, to be able to represent, to be represented. We have been asked several times for the law for the parliament elections, and of course all the suggestions and requirements by the political parties have been thrown away, and actually this is how the parliament came out. So you cannot ask the opposition or the political party to be able to perform within this atmosphere. You are decreasing the margins, all the margins for any political organization to perform, or even to be able to go to people and talk. You cannot go to talk to people in the streets. You cannot do anything. You can easily be caught by the law for demonstrations. So it's not that simple. And at the same time, your voice is not heard. You can say whatever you want in all the legislations, and no one is listening. You can say that you can put statements and say that you do not agree on anything, but in the end of the day, you are not in the government. You are not in the authority to be able to do anything. So it's somehow chicken and egg situation. People are asking for political parties to be somehow available for them, and to be able to do a lot of things, and at the same time the system is not allowing any person who is working in the political field to do all these things. So how can you express all what you want? You can just put statements and say what you want in the very marginal space that you are allowed to say the things you want to say, and that's it. This is the only thing you can do.
Well, Ms. Dakhs, if we go back to the 25th of January revolution, a lot of people were pretty active in terms of demonstrating and revolting against the regime of Hosni Mubarak. And then after the president stepped down, there came the presidential elections, where the Brotherhood group, the Muslim Brotherhood, actually won the elections. And a lot of people were really optimistic regarding, okay, there's a new change, new faces on the political scene. However, things took a turn in the wrong direction. President Sisi said that that regime really focused on their personal interests and personal goals. How much do you feel that this experience that the Egyptians went through for 1 year with the Muslim Brotherhood in the office changed the political dynamics and the political conscience within the Egyptian citizen?
Well, I think that the Egyptian citizens and the political parties don't want to repeat the mistake again. So I think that they are looking at the long-term plan of President Abdel al-Sisi, and they do not want to oppose in any way. They want to see where he's going to lead us, instead of just demonstrating and being politically active, regardless of them not having the proper space. However, if they had, I don't think that they would actually use it the way that we used it when the Muslim Brotherhoods were in charge. However, it did quite change a lot, because as a starter, we're now extremely against Islamists, and we are extremely against them running again for presidency or any of the parliament or any of political positions. And that's why I think that they may have not made a dynamical change, an obvious one. However, they did change the vision of the people towards them. So that's a huge progress, I think, in my opinion.
Yes. Well, Dr. Abdel Naser, the President also mentioned in his address to the nation regarding marking the anniversary of the revolution that the 30th of June revolution also a couple of years later took place, and it took place to correct the path of the 25th revolution. Now, it really took place in response to the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood. Do you feel that there are some similar goals and similar demands for both revolutions? Do you feel that the new revolution also presented or offered new demands and new aspirations for the Egyptian people?
I cannot actually say so. It's just if you are talking about June 30th, well, I do remember that the main theme we were talking about was freedom, because we felt that Muslim Brotherhood is trying to take out of us our freedom. They want to somehow enroll a certain type of life for the Egyptians, which is not accepted by most of the Egyptians, and they don't want to be fit in this lifestyle. We were talking all the time about freedom, freedom, freedom. So this is the main change. But actually, I do agree about what my colleague said, that it was very important for the Egyptians to see how Muslim Brotherhood is going to do with Egypt if they are in government, because most of people were sympathetic with them. They were thinking that well, they have been always in the weak position, and they were always in the presence and all these things, so they sympathized with them a lot. But when they came to office, they actually found out that they were not the people they were thinking about, and this is very important step for the Egyptians, and it could have never been happened without being them getting them in government. So this is the main thing, and at the same time, most of Egyptians now, they understand that not everyone talking with the name of religion, they are good people. So they have learned the lesson. Even if we learn the lesson in the difficult way, but this is how it works anyhow. But again, the main revolution is Jan 25th. The main demands were in Jan 25th, and we haven't achieved anything yet. We were asking for bread, freedom, social justice. We were asking for the dignity for the Egyptians. We were asking for equality. We were asking to stop corruption. And none of all these demands have happened so far.
Mr. Dakhs, after the June 30th revolution that overthrew the regime of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, that really prompted a lot of terrorist attacks and a lot of violence and a lot of conflicts that really didn't just affect Egypt internally and the security and stability situation in Egypt, but also its image and its role and its position in the international community. How far do you think this has been holding the country back from actually progressing in the right direction, and how much do you feel that we still need to, that we will still feel the repercussions of all these things, the violence and instability that took place after both revolutions, to actually move in the right direction and be exactly where the Egyptians want to be?
Well, if we're 100% sure that the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization, as we claimed and as we published a couple of years back, why didn't we take like extreme measurements against them? Why are just captivated? Why didn't we took actual steps in concerning the matter of trials and actually taking actions towards them? We're just claiming that they are a terroristic organization, which they are, of course. However, we didn't take any enough precautions. If we claim that the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization and they're captivated, and that's just it, and it's going to take us ages and ages and ages till we actually resolve or announce their trials or the results of their trials or anything, we're still going to be living in the threat of terrorist attacks. So I think we should actually take severe actions if we're that 100% sure. However, we cannot be continuing in this dilemma of the Muslimhood is a terroristic organization and it's threatening us, and whenever we have a huge important issue that is ongoing in the country, we always get out the card of Muslim Brotherhood as a terroristic organization, and we need to take our precautions, and we need to be cautious and everything. We even like the festive atmospheres for the proponents and everything. Actually, there were extremely a very minor number of people who went down yesterday to celebrate the 25th revolution or the 30th revolution because of the terrorist attacks that they're afraid of. So what is it that is holding us back from taking severe actions towards them? Actually, nothing. So come to think about it, why aren't we taking any severe actions towards them? So it's a little bit hesitant, and it's not a clear sight concerning that matter. However, it's affecting us negatively, and we should take severe measurements concerning that.
Yes. Well, Dr. Abdel Naser, talking about fighting terrorism and actually trying to eliminate the terrorist elements here in Egypt, the country has been involved in battlefields and campaigns in the Sinai Peninsula. It has been involved in a lot of conflicts across the country during the terrorist attacks that were taking place. But also simultaneously, there were regional conflicts, and the war on terror, the global war on terror, came into the equation. So Egypt also got involved in things that were conflicts that were taking place on the Libyan border, conflicts that were taking place between the Houthi rebels and Saudi Arabia. And Egypt has been involved in many other things other than dealing with the terrorists in the country. Do you feel that this has been also slowing down, or do you feel that this should have no effect whatsoever on what's happening inside the country?
Well, no, of course it has an effect. We cannot deny what's going on for the terrorist attack. But actually we need, again, to redefine what we actually mean by terrorism. And we cannot just say it's Muslim Brotherhood. Well, from my point of view, the Salafists are much more dangerous than the Muslim Brotherhood. By what they are thinking about. Their thoughts are exactly like ISIS. So if we are talking about terrorism, we have to fight terrorism. But how do we fight terrorism? If we just thought about we will fight terrorism and radical thoughts by just getting into a confrontation, this is completely wrong. You have to fight this by culture, thoughts. You have to fight this by education. You have to fight this by social justice. What actually is being done now is preparing the environment for the radicalists to find a lot of people and a lot of young people to be prospect terrorists in the future. We are not fighting terrorism. We are helping them. All what we are doing is just helping them. We are not dealing with the real actions. We are doing nothing in the education. We are preventing the music bands from singing and doing music in the streets. And this is how we should fight terrorism. We shouldn't fight terrorism by just putting the army and the police in confrontation. That's it. Mm-hmm. This is, of course, we will have to do this, but this is just one dimension. but we have to have the other pillars. The other pillars are much more important than just fighting them in the fields.
Well, Mr. Dakhs, you talked about swift movement and swift actions that need to be taken to eliminate all the bad blood that's running through the country. And there are two points of view regarding that. A lot of people are saying, no, we need action. We need to see the trials and sentences being handed out to eliminate the danger. A lot of people are also saying, well, that is true, but still it's still a political equation where you need to balance things out and juggle different ideas and different points of view and different policies between inside Egypt and outside of Egypt. Is it hard to find a balance between both views?
Of course it is, because we've tried the political equation of them taking charge of the country and they failed tremendously. So there is no other way but actually these people, why are they behind bars? Because they failed in their political powers. They've used it against people, they've harmed people, they did terroristic attacks which are extremely obvious, and that's why they're being tried. So excuse me, but the international organizations are not going to do us any benefit when we have terroristic attacks every other day. So for how long are we going to be like waiting for the proper equation between the political opinion of the international organizations or the political ideas or judgments or anything, and the trials and the sentences and everything? So let's look at it in a different way. The public opinion of the people, the proponents are extremely against the Muslim Brotherhoods. The opposition is extremely against the Muslim Brotherhoods. They had their chances. They were elected. They ran for presidency. They took charge of the government, and they failed. And that's why they're being tried, because they've misused their power against the people of the country. So if we're talking about human rights, they actually destroyed the human rights concept, and they did a lot of terroristic acts. So actually, no, I don't see that there is a balanced equation between both. I see that they had their share of democratic political stability and power, and they failed. So right now they're being sentenced and tried. That's how I see it.
Yes. Well, Dr. Abdel Naser, as you've both mentioned and agreed on, that we didn't still fulfill the main prospects of the 25th of January revolution. Now that's 5 years ago. We went through 3 different presidencies, the Muslim Brotherhood, the transitional one, and the current one right now. 2 parliaments, a change in the constitution, a strong economic setback. We really went through a whole lot over the past 5 years. And as you both mentioned, well, President Sisi also said that the transition to democracy doesn't happen overnight. So when can we actually start looking and saying, well, we need to see action right now? I mean, you've laid some points regarding the education system, the healthcare, all these things. When should we actually start really looking at things and saying, well, we should have done this or we should have done that by now?
Well, actually I cannot expect, because we are not on the right path. You know, if we just started and we found ourselves that we are on the right track, we wouldn't be worried, because it will take a very long time, and we are ready to wait for that long. But we need to start. We need to find ourselves on the beginning, at least on the track. We haven't started anything. We haven't started any reform in education, in health, in government, against corruption, in anything. We haven't started anything. Okay, I understand that Mr. Sisi is trying somehow in some of the mega projects, but again, we don't have clear vision. We don't know exactly what's going on. and there is no transparency whatsoever on anything. So we cannot expect anything as long as we don't know what's going on. And the parliament somehow is, I don't know, I don't want to talk about the parliament, but I don't think that this is the parliament that would fulfill anything of our dreams or what we looked upon. So you cannot expect timing unless at least you start.
Well, Ms. Dakhs, talking about moving in the right direction, we can all say the usual rhetoric, what needs to be done is we do this and we do that and we start working on the education system or start working on the healthcare or the energy sector and all these things. But in practical actions, what can be done right now to give people the hope that we are moving in the right direction, actually getting things done? What do you see now that we are done with the transitional, the roadmap that was planned after the June 30th revolution? What do you want to see happen next?
Well, I think we should give the parliament the chance of the 15 days or the period requested to solve the 300 laws that were that are supposed to be agreed on or disagreed on, and the moment they finish, they should start focusing on 3 mega points, which is education, healthcare, and power. The main point, in my opinion, that should be coming as a priority is education, because as Dr. Maha said, education is the core that is going to change everything. It's going to change the healthcare, it's going to change the power, it's going to change the culture, it's going to change how people look at things and how they measure things or actually have points of view. Political parties, each should come with a suggested plan concerning the education, and they should start taking actions. If they are not going to do that, then there is no hope, then there is no progress, then there is no beginning of the path. So the main thing that they should start with is education, because in my opinion it's going to improve any other sector. The suggested plan should come from different political parties and different political opinions, and all of them should agree on one plan, taking the best out of each and then trying to implement it. They should also have like a time frame of completing all of this, because they could be working on a plan for 4 years, which is going to be, excuse me, but nonsense. So they should have like a target of 6 months where they can come up with a plan, an educational plan to improve the country, and trust me, it's going to like change the entire picture. It's going to change the picture for the citizens, for the opposition, for the international organization. It's going to open a lot of fields concerning the international community and the cultures and the cultural exchanges between countries. So it's a huge thing, but we need to start working on that.
Yes. Well, Dr. Abdel Naser, you've both agreed that, on the importance of actually restructuring the educational system and how this will be the first real step in overhauling the ideology and the culture in the Egyptian society, and also it would work on eliminating the corruption and everything in turn. If we do that, and we will have to start, let's say, from scratch, that will take probably, to see the fruit of it, a whole generation. Exactly. After going through the right sort of reformed educational system with the right healthcare, with the right anti-corruption culture, that will take a whole generation, which means at least 10 years. We all want to see fruit, and we all want to see progress right here, right now. But realistically, that will not happen after a whole generation. So how can we be patient? How can we actually try and see some progress and some end result pretty soon before we start to wait for the results of a whole generation being reformed?
You have to work in parallel. Education is a cornerstone, but you will not see the results soon. but you have to work on the other files. You will not just work on education and wait for all other things. You have to be really against corruption, to do something regarding this file. There is several files that you have to tackle at the same time, and you have to work in parallel. The economic reform has to take place. The system or the government, it has to show which people they are polarized to, which people they really do care about. They have to do something regarding this. There are a lot of things that can be done. You can get the young people out of jail. This will give a lot of people hope. The symbols of the January Revolution. You can stop working with the demonstration legislation, which is actually not constitutional. You can activate what the Constitution is saying about freedom of speech. Not taking somebody like Fatma out to prison. You can do a lot of things. But you need to start in any area to give people hope.
Yes. And we'll probably have to wait and see for the Parliament how much they will be able to actually dictate and amend all these laws and decrees.
Well, it was extremely shocking, and thank you for bringing it up, that Dr. Fatma Out was captivated and was sentenced with 3 years of jail today, because actually Fatma Out is one of the proponents. So it's actually extremely shocking that one of the proponents is going to be captivated, and the other people, then what are they going to do with the opposition? If they're extremely good at legislating the law, such as the demonstration law of not allowing people to go out and demonstrate against what they think or saying whatever they want to say, then they could come up with laws that prevent corruption, that are going to state openly that if a doctor is not there for the patient, then he's going to be trialed for 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're really that good with laws, then we can use these laws and actually fixing the country as a temporary stage. So there are plenty of ways to do that, but I'm not quite sure what is holding the Parliament back. So we need to focus on that as a main point.
Yes. Well, talking about also trying to better the economic situation, at least in Egypt. The government has been doing a lot of deals with a lot of different countries in Asia, in Europe, Russia, France, also China. Now the Chinese president actually came to Egypt, part of the regional tour that took him also to Saudi Arabia and Iran. Do you feel that with these visits, at least having some sort of economic cooperation, starting to work on nuclear power plants, starting to work on military cooperation, working on new cities being dealt with here in Egypt, transportation, electric trains. Do you feel that all these things might give some hope, some maybe a little bit of a lifeline to the Egyptian citizen, at least according to you, like to work simultaneously with the restructuring of the foundation and the infrastructure in the country, but also trying to move ahead in the here and now?
Well, actually, definitely having some kind of cooperations between different countries and different multinationals is really good. But again, you need to have a vision. You need to set priorities, and you need to work first on the things and projects that will make the quality of life of people are much better. You don't need to improve my quality of life if I'm living in a good compound in 6 October or in the New Cairo or Qatamaya or things like that. You need to work to improve the life of the people who are living in the streets, in very poor areas, and actually they are living in places lacking the minimum requirements for any person to live. So again, you have to define the priorities. You have to know exactly what you are working with, And if you have limited resources, you have to put your resources in the most urgent places, not the other way around.
Yes.
This is the problem. Definitely doing infrastructure, improving the roads, trying to make a new ring road, all these things are really good, and they will improve the quality of the life for a lot of people, including one like myself. But again, I shouldn't be the one who is targeted now. We should be targeting a lot of people who are really not living normal life.
Yes. Well, because we're running out of time, this is a final question, Ms. Dakhs. Now, we talked about the problems that we've been facing since the 25th of January revolution and what still needs to be done. But what is a positive? What are the positives that we see right now that we can actually build on and be hopeful as a result of for the future, the near future and the long-term future?
Well, looking at it from a shallow way, currently we're having a parliament, we have an elected president, we have a government. So this is like the three main positive things that we should hold on to and like be extremely optimistic and have high hopes that all of what we're saying right now is just an illusion, and the government is actually going to work on improving the living conditions for the people, and is going to focus on the 60% that are living around the poverty line, and they're going to have like an educational and healthcare and power plan for the coming years, and hopefully things will be better.
And on that hopeful note, I will hang on to it, and unfortunately that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Unfortunately, a lot of problems are still laying ahead, but still there are things to be hopeful about. And I'd like to thank our very distinguished guests before we leave, Dr. Maha Abdel, the political analyst. I'd also like to thank Ms. Yosr, Dakhs, the political analyst. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Henry Saif. Thank you for joining us.